Hi everyone, it's Andy from Ingmans again. Bit of change of scene today. We're in our tailoring room, so if the environment looks a bit different. But today we're going to work on a different project. It's a golf shoe. It's not a normal golf shoe, it's a handmade golf shoe. So we don't see these very often, so we thought we'd do a video on it. It's a Goodyear Welted construction, like Lokes, Barkers, Bensons, Trickers. All the top brands. The difference is it's got studs in, so we have to attach underneath a stainless steel plate that's got the housings for the studs, so it's a little bit more complicated, but it's a nice challenge. I've not done one of these for a while. Just as a point of interest, you can actually convert any Goodyear Welted shoe into a golf shoe. So if there's anybody out there that can't find a golf shoe but they can find a handmade shoe they like, just bear in mind we can convert them for you. We're going to renovate the uppers, clean these all up. There's a few cracks in there. We're going to try and get rid of a few of them. It won't be perfect, but they'll be a lot better. Story behind these, a gentleman sent them down from Scotland. His name's Johnny. He's allowed us to use these for his video. His father's hung his golf shoes up and he's passed them down to his son. So I want to make a really good job, like we did on the Lokes restoration. Just want to thank everybody for viewing that, because I think we're up to 4,000 viewers. Subscribers are going up, so it's really great, and I really appreciate it. So we'll go down to the workshop, but just don't forget to like, comment, hit the notification bell. I'm going to try and make a concerted effort to follow up the comments. It's not because I don't care, it's just that I'm really good at mending shoes, but I'm really terrible with technology. So let's go down to the workshop and let's make some magic happen. Thank you. Okay, so we're in the workshop. I'm going to strip these down. So we'll start by taking the studs out, taking the heel off, taking the sole off, and then we'll show you what's the difference is with this shoe. So we'll show you the components underneath that hold the studs on, and then we'll replace them with new ones to make sure that everything's good and strong underneath. So yeah, well, let's get started. Right, so this is a stud remover specially made for the job, and I'll be honest, I've loosened these off already to save any embarrassment on YouTube. So what we do is take each one out. I'm going to save these because I'm not sure if the customer wants them back, because they're in relatively good condition. But as you can see, you've got little sockets there with screws in. So it's just a normal male and female screw attachment. It's got a rubber insert, and you'd like to keep the same look. Well, we've not got a sole like that, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut this down and insert it into there, so it'll look pretty much as good as the other one does, and it'll do the same job, and then we'll stitch it on like it's done there, so it'll be totally secure. Oh, I'm also going to try and save this, the FootJoy logo, because again that's quite unique. It should gently come off, but we'll see. So that's good. Keep that safe. And we'll start stripping back. So take the heel off first. Just as a normal job. Now this has got a plastic heel block on, which you'd probably say is a bit of a no-no, but because this shoe's on the grass all the time, actually it's probably sensible because it'll not rot. So we'll keep that as original, and it's also got the holes for putting the FootJoy logo back on. But you just get one of these off to show you. These are the little heel sockets that you put your stud into. So we'll replace these. They're all right, but while we've got the opportunity to change them, we'll change them, and we'll put new sockets in. That's going to come off really nice. At the end of the day, this is like a sports shoe, so it needs to be really comfortable. So that's the leather sole, and you can probably see it's quite a unique rich colour, and that's because all the oils that are impregnated into it. So that's gonna last a long time, and a lot of water repellency, which is, you know, really important in the environment it's going to be in. Right, so I'm going to go to the machine now, and I'm just going to break all the stitches and gently take the sole off and show you underneath. Okay. So we just broke the stitching on there, and now I'm going to put a little bit of solvent on just to loosen the stitches and the glue, so that we can gently take it off. That's all we need really, because we broke the stitches, so just leave that for a second or two to go in. So what we're going to do is start from the back. Okay, so there we go, first surprise of the day. Yeah. So it has got a plate at the back, but this one is plastic. Same principle. So these are the ones that we're going to replace it with, which are a bit stronger. So, but that is roughly the same size. We've got different sizes, obviously for a bigger shoe, but that one matches up with that perfectly. So we'll be able to centralise it and make that work. It's got a little liner at the back of the sole. And what we are going to do is we're going to save each component, because we're going to use these for templates. Because I've got to insert there, and I've got to make the holes, and I want to make them in exactly the same place so that they feel right. We're going to use these as patterns onto the new materials. First of all, we're going to look at this condition of this cork. So we'll take this out gently, and then we'll show you how we refill that, and then we'll start and make the new patterns for the new insert going in, and making sure everything's exactly the same size. Right, so we've got the cork out and cleaned it up, and now we're going to take the stitching out. So it's quite a tedious job, but we've got to do it. The reason why we do this is because when we re-stitch the leather and rubber sole on, we can find the original holes if we set the machine up properly, which, you know, it sort of doesn't stress the welt, keeps it strong, and also for aesthetics, how it looks. You know, we're going to all this trouble to do the job properly. We're going to do the job properly, and to do that we need to take every single stitch out, so we can make it look as original and as brand new as possible. These are coming out really nice. They've been kind to me. Sometimes it can take half an hour, 40 minutes to do one. Sometimes it takes 10 minutes. But you literally don't know until you start doing it. We're taking what we call the tails off. So if this goes to plan, we should be able to pull the top thread out, or the majority of the top thread, but we'll see. Because we're on camera, I'll probably go wrong. but again, it might be kind to me. Okay, it's not too bad. It's about 1.5 inches. As an average, if every pair came out like this, we'd be really happy here at Ingmans, because this is one of the longest parts of the job, but one of the most rewarding. Let's do. There you go. All come out nice and clean, and don't know if you can see there, but you can see where the stitching's come out and all the holes there. You might be able to see back from that side. So what we'll do is we'll set the machine up and we'll hit every hole. That has got a quite dense stitch ratio. I think that's about 7 stitches per inch, maybe 6, so that's quite neat. Just notice there's a few more stitches there. So what we'll do now, we'll inlay some cork in there, just a little bit of cork. So actually gonna genetics similar footprint. The shop's falling apart around. So we'll put some cork in there. So this is wet cork, and that insulates and is really comfortable because it stays wet for a long time, and it gives that opportunity to mould to the customer's foot. We do try and do things best way possible for the customer. Now this area there is the ball of the foot, so it needs to be thin there because we don't want no lumps kicking back up inside. When it's completely dry, I am going to scour this, but that's why I'm doing this now. I can do this, let it dry, let it harden off, scour it, make sure there's no big lumps inside in the wrong place, and I can get on with showing what we need to do to put these new sockets in and cut the soles out and put the inserts in, so that when it all comes together it looks pretty much identical to the original one. So we'll put that up there and we'll let that dry. Obviously that's his other foot. We're going to do what we did last time. We're going to use that as a comparable. Obviously we do fix the other shoe, not in this video, but we will do it for the customer obviously. I think we need to use the original parts as patterns, so it's quite simple. Just hold that in place, pen round it. When you pen round it, you're going to have a little bit extra, which is fine. It gives you that general idea where everything is, so when we put in our logo on, it helps us centralise that. And also I can mark, when I've cut that out, I can mark where I'm going to insert this piece here. This thing's razor sharp, so you have to be careful. Don't get a second chance for this thing. This is a Ranger, and it's got a seat wheel on it as well, which helps press the welt onto the sole, which we'll do later. But the next thing to do, so we offer that up there like so, and because, if you remember, I looked at the comparison of that being really close, pretty much identical, but it's not exactly. So what we need to do is roughly gauge where this is going to go. I'm happy with that. So we'll outline that. Just double check everything's centralised. So I've made sure that that top socket's top stud is where it should be, then this will naturally follow as long as I keep the gaps equal. And then what we do is hold that in place and gently tap. The reason we do that is so that it just leaves a little mark. And then what we'll do is we'll drill those out. So that will go into there. Obviously we'll do all of the all 7 of those. But you have to make sure that you sort of don't okay, so just clean them up. Right, moment of truth. See if I've got them accurate enough. It's really difficult to line 7 up. Just one I'm a little bit concerned about, this one down here. So I'll just make that hole a little bit bigger. So that's good, I'm quite happy with that. So I've not done one for a while. So basically now the stud will fit back into there, but obviously we've got to put the rubber insert in. So what I usually do is clean these up. There you go, you can see clean passage into it now. Just move that out of the way. We'll need that later on for the heel. Make it a nice mess, that's how I like it, proper workshop. So now what we've got to do is insert this into there, but we're going to have to take this out. We know it fits now, and we know it's all in the right place, and we've made way for the holes, we've cleaned them up. The reason why we're taking that out is I've got to insert that into there, so I'm going to have to take some of the leather away, which means if I kept that in there I'd be scouring that top, and I don't want to do that because that'll affect the studs going in. So what I'm going to do is, if I take the top and that area off there, that should pretty much be nearly where I want it to be. It doesn't have to be exact, but it would be nice to get it as close as the original. So if you remember, this top one was in the leather section, so that works out about right. So I'm going to clean these up on the machine, and then I'm going to mark when it's straight and I'm happy. I'll mark each area, and then I'll let the sole in. I'll let the sole into the sole, not the heel, into the sole. So we'll do it by hand, we'll clean it all up so we've got a bit of a wall there, so when I scour it, it'll help me keep it even and not run over that, and it'll keep it looking like it's been fitted like the original one was. Okay. Going to put a piece of rubber like that into there. The good news is that's plastic, and we're going to put rubber which will be more grippy and last longer, it'll be more flexible, which will match the sole. So measured it and I'm happy with how far it comes. It's pretty much exact to the original. So we just going to start off by a little sharpen. The film crew pointed out video before last that things that are sharp are easy to use than things that are blunt, which is true. So best keep things sharp, eh? Right, so I've got that where I'm happy with. So we're gonna gently run a line across. Now this rubber sole is about 2.2 millimeters thick, so I need to get most of that into the leather. Okay, so we've got the two lines there that are about, looking at that, they're about 1.5 mil, but that'll allow me to get a nice straight edge. I like to do as many processes as I can by hand. I know it's traditional, but you get more accuracy, and I like to make sure that things look right and function properly. By the way, this job is £110. There's a few extra components in the process, the backing plates, and obviously the sole that we're inserting. I understand that's a lot of money, but these shoes are, I think, from memory, £200 upwards, probably getting close to £300. So it's all relative and it's worth it, and it's recycling again. And there's a lot of stuff on TV at the moment about renovating stuff, and I think that's helping us in our business, especially with going through what we've been through with the pandemic. People are starting to value stuff more, which is nice. Shops have not been open and they've looked to restore. Right, so I'm now going to insert that into there. Might have to shorten this a fraction, but that's okay. But that's going to flex that way, so we probably won't, but we'll start now and take this out to accept pretty much all that depth. So we've got to take that about halfway down, so that's what we're going to do now on the machine. I've cleaned it up, as you can see. That's still slightly too big, which I'm alright with, because like I say, it's going to flex that way, and I can always adjust that right at the last minute. But now I've got it pretty level. I still need to take some meat out of that sole, so we're going to move over to the other machine, which has got a wider band and a rougher grit, so it'll do the job quicker, and because it's a wider band it should keep it more level, which I need to keep this level so it feels right. So we're going to move over there, okay, and do that last bit. What I've decided to do is I took a little bit of meat out of that as well, because it was getting, I need it to be 50-50, no more. So I've took something off that. I'm happy that they've married up together. So now what we do is we'll glue them together, let them set, and then we'll do the our logo on this bit. We'll just mark the heel out first to make sure everything's all right, so it's all centralised. So we'll start glue this up and fix it all together. It's coming together nicely now. goes into the fibres deeper, to the solvents, and then we will add a unthinned down part afterwards. That way we'll get a fantastic bond, plus we're going to stitch it as well, so it's going nowhere, and it's got the added addition of the studs that will hold it all in place as well. But once we've got that done, we'll start and mark out the heel. So I roughly know where to put the logo. Just put a little line there. So we'll put the logo somewhere centralised in there, then we know it's going to be okay. Just let that dry a minute. What we can do while we're waiting is look at the heel. So I've chosen a heel. It's not a typical men's heel. I've gone for something that's really similar in depth. That's worn down a bit, and it's quite a hard heel, so that it matches the density of the plastic. So we'll start and mark that out. It's quite nice to do something different. Take the sockets out. I wonder if Steve Bedo in America has done any of these. I've not seen it, but he's probably done it. He's done most things. He's fantastic. Right, so that's sort of dry enough. It's still a little bit wet, which that's what we want. So that'll help pull this part of the glue down with it. Right. That boring time where we're waiting for glue to dry, like waiting for paint to dry, eh? What we can do, we can start and drill the holes. A little bit less pressure on these because these are individually, they're not on a backing. So but nice join there, as you can see. It's pretty equal. Nice bit of rubber on there for grip and also for water repellency, so that'll be good to go. What we've got to do now is drill the holes so that we can put the plate back on, but we're going to put the logo on after I've drilled the holes. So get that embossed in, and then we can get the sole back onto the shoe. Okay, so we'll get cracking onto that. Okay. Just dampen the leather a little bit, just so it don't crack when we put the logo in. So I'm just centralising it visually. After you've done this a few times, you're pretty accurate. But this leather sole is oil based, so it embosses real nice. There we go. Okay, we're making good progress now, so that's good. The cork's dried, so we're going to smooth that off and just clean these, rough these edges up gently, and then we'll put the plate back on at the back, and then we'll put the sole onto the shoe, and then we'll stitch it all round, and then we'll make way for the heel to go on, and we'll show you how we do the heel sockets as well. So we're making good headway, and then we're going to start working on the uppers. So right, we'll clean all the soles up. Great stuff. Okay, so sometimes I forget to smile, so gonna give a smile for the camera. Right, what we're gonna do is we're gonna glue this up. It's two different materials, but once it's on, we'll pin this back piece to secure it onto the insole, and then we're gonna put the stainless steel plate into there, onto the back, and then we'll gradually build this back up and get the sole on, and then we'll get to my favourite bit, which is stitching it all on, which should look quite cool with the rubber and the leather as we go around. Okay, so I've levelled all the cork off. We're applying the thin coat, dusting down with the solvents. Let's put some glue underneath there. So this won't really glue really well, but once it's had a second coat, it'll be better. It fit before. Let's hope it fits again. What's happened is, as we put the rubber on, it's just put a different tension onto the leather, so it just pulled it out probably 1/2 mil, but that's gone in really good. We can see that it's gone into the holes, but I've got to clean these rubber bits out again, so we don't want these rubber to get into where the threads and get into them. So we'll clean this up. And the reason why I remembered to smile is because one of the film crews come in with a really crazy t-shirt on, so that's reminded me to smile. Right, okay, making good progress. Plate on, corking, first layer of glue. We've got the heel to piece together, so we'll try and synchronise everything so we save time. That's pretty well insulated. This is different because it's stainless steel. It actually shouldn't rub against the cork, so that should be absolutely fine, whereas the other one was plastic, which probably would have rubbed and maybe made a noise, but this should, you know, be a bit firmer. And with that being wet cork again, it'll cushion it, and that will bed into the stainless steel, will bed into the cork, so that should be all good. So we'll now put the second coat on. If you remember, we've used the Italian soles this time, which are a lot more flexible as well. I've got a lot more oils in them, so that'll be better for outdoor, on the grass use, wet use. Right, so both coats on, let that dry. So now we'll move on to the heel. I've sort of copied the template there. But what we're going to do is put these sockets into the back, knock them in, and they anchor themselves. And again, there's no flex on the heel, so they're solid in there. The spikes will hold them in place really well. Right, so next thing we do is we're gonna attach that to that, glue that together and nail it, make sure that's all secure while this is drying. And then we'll be doing the stitching and then moving on to the uppers. All going well. Okay, drying time up, so we're now going to put the soles on to the shoes. Be careful, but it does help because we've marked them out, but it makes it a bit more intricate putting them on. Right, that's on. We're going to go over to the press that on, and then we're going to seat wheel all the way around there, make sure everything's really secure. Then we can trim it round, pin the heel, mark it so we can let the heel in, and then I can stitch it on. Okay, so that's now squeezed the welt onto the sole, pulled it back in line, which when it goes onto the stitching table, that's nice and flat, so we'll get a nice smooth run of stitches around there. So now I'm just going to trim it all up, let the heel in and get stitching. Okay, you're going to apply some nice even pressure across the sole onto the upper, but equally, because if you remember I mentioned about the cork being wet and we've got that stainless steel plate, this is going to help drive that into the cork and make it feel more as one, because you've got your upper, your plate and your sole and the rubber piece, so it's going to unite all those together. Hell of a lot of pressure on that, but as you can see, puts that nice shape into it. Just gonna put that bit there. Okay, that's great. That really feels more true underneath. Now we're going to just tie these welts down in place, trim it all up like I said before, and then we'll get it onto the stitching machine, let the heel in, put that on, and then we'll start working on the uppers. Getting closer and closer to end result. Now we're going to put the heel onto the shoe, and the way that we like to do it, the traditional way, is, as we call it, letting the heel in. So make sure that's all level. Nice gentle line first. And then we know that we've gone a bit deeper, and then we start and cut that accurate joint. I actually think this is quicker than scouring it, because you know it's going to be right. So doing it right first time's always good. So you've got a nice little shelf there that we're going to scour back and make sure that that fits nicely into. It's got a nice bit of shape there, so we'll shape that as well so it sits lovely and flush. Right, we'll move on to the machine. After that, we're going to put a groove there for the stitch, but the groove will be nice and deep there, but on here it'll just be a light groove, then it'll go into a deep groove. The reason for that is, obviously we don't want to cut through the rubber because that's only half thickness, but because we're actually walking on grass, it's not really going to affect it. It's not like you're walking on concrete and it's going to wear the stitch out, so it's more for aesthetics really. So we'll scour this off. So we'll just pin these round, what we said earlier. So after this, I'll do the grooving, then get on to my favourite bit. I'm going to use a black stitch. We've put that curvature in so that that sits into it nicely. Right, so we'll get on now and we'll do the grooving. Got 0.7 stitches per inch. Okay, so the stitches are quite close to the edge as well, so we need to move. This is the guide, that's the table. This is the guide, and as you can hear, it's engineered, so it's increments, so you can actually just, it's not guesswork, you can click, 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 click. And then this part of the machine here, that controls how many stitches per inch. And obviously after using the machine a long time, I sort of get used to where it should be for that. So we should be good to go. Threads come out from underneath, but that's no big deal. Just pull that through. You need to have a good length on that, so it doesn't, when it turns round, it doesn't pull the thread back into the machine. Then you won't get a lock. So it's in a neutral position, so we get that onto the welt, onto the table, and we start behind the heel. Here we go. Yeah, so we've hit every hole, so that's really nice tight stitch, and that's pulled everything together. You know, this repair is a little bit more complex than a normal Goodyear Welted job, because there's different factors involved in it with the plates and this insert that we've done, but we really are, you know, getting to the end of that part now. So what we're going to do is knock all the stitches down, trim all the edges, and then I'm going to clean the sole up and then glue the heel up. I've already pre-glued this, so I'm trying to get ahead of the game a bit, and then we'll attach that on, and then we'll flip it and start working on the uppers. So I'll tap these down. Get that nice stitching. And we did that really lightly, but it's pulled it in nice and tight, but it's not pulled it in too far, so it'll split the rubber. So I'm really happy with how that's turned out. So I'm going to trim that up and then move on to the other machine. Gluey time. So what we did over there, we just cleaned the soles up, because we're getting to that point now where all the fundamentals are done and it's now starting to make things look good. So we'll put some polish front and back. As you know, we use sapphire cream. And this just, so we just clean the surface up, so it just seals it back up again. It'll make it look good as well when it's all polished up. So that's been double glued, that's been double glued, so what we're going to do is, while we're waiting for the glue to dry, now we'll get on with the second coat. As we showed you before, they're all ready for the studs to go in, and we'll pin that heel on as well as glue it, so that'll go nowhere. And when we put that heel on, we'll turn it over and we'll pin it from the inside, but we'll get all the heel on first, all together, before we do that. I already started cleaning the uppers a little bit. I put some glue into these cracks, so we're going to stick them down, won't heat them up and stick them down, and start and put some polishes back into the upper. Only trouble is with golf shoes, look fantastic in white, but they're just so hard to maintain. So it's going to take a bit of time to do that, but we'll try and move it on as quick as we can. But everything's taking shape nicely now. Okay, so here's another comparison job that we've done. Joy Classic. We've restored the uppers, cleaned them up, kept the original logo in place, and hopefully you can see the difference that we've done. We've tried to keep it how the customer wanted and the traditional look of the FootJoy Classic.